Hello there, I'm Jimmy Vegas, and I'm playing through Final Fantasy 13, 15 years after I first played it. That's absolutely crazy, and you know what? I think I actually appreciate it a hell of a lot more now than I did 15 years ago. The weird thing is, it just feels right. I know it's corridors, I know it's not open world, I know it's not like all that, but in all seriousness, games have grown, things have evolved. Things have changed. Games aren't like what they used to be. Maybe it's because I've grown older and I genuinely appreciate Final Fantasy 13 for what it is now. Who knows? But the great thing is, in this modern world, every Final Fantasy is accessible on, let's say, PS5. Except 13. 13 isn't. Why? Most people consider it to be the worst Final Fantasy, and with good reason, because 15 years ago, don't think the world was quite ready for Lightning and her adventure. Here we are now in 2024, going into 2025, and I think the world was ready 5 years ago. It feels like a game that probably could have come out 5 years ago. And it holds up well today. The graphics are absolutely fantastic. I'm playing on a PS3, keep in mind. I'm not playing the enhanced backwards compatible one on Xbox Series or anything. It's the PS3 version that's right behind me that you probably can't see. But the cutscenes do look fantastic. The gameplay feels really nice to play. However, you can tell it is a 15-year-old game in the terms of like moving the camera around. It just seems a bit odd. Maybe if they could re-release it with a couple of upgraded graphics, but some quality of life adjustments and better handling on the controls, it could be an absolute smash hit. It's right for the world today. It feels right for the world today. It needs to be in the world today, and it needs to be accessible on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series. Well, already is on Xbox Series X, but you get my point. Square is missing a big opportunity, and this is why I think it will get a remaster. Maybe a remake, who knows? I'm not quite sure they will go that far, but definitely some kind of remaster. It would fit in well. You've got to look at how gritty the likes of the Final Fantasy VII remake was. Even Rebirth. Rebirth is a lot more, how can I say it, fresher. Obviously, because you've got the open world, it feels more open, flowery, nice because you're outside. But Remake did a really good job of a gritty feel. And as you start playing Final Fantasy 13, going through all the, yes, corridors, I know, it does feel a little bit like it took inspiration from Final Fantasy VII. I guess they could somehow reuse a lot of the assets, the textures, materials, models from Final Fantasy VII Remake and apply them to Final Fantasy 13. Yes, I know it's not the same game, but off in the distance, you wouldn't even know it was the same models that you would get from somewhere in Midgar. They just need to kind of build it for the modern day. And trust me, that would work. Even if they just slapped it out as it is with a bit of polish on it, I think it'd still work. Obviously, it wouldn't have the quality of life improvements, but let's face it, a lot of games these days come out with no quality of life at all. Look at Concord, for example. It was an absolute disaster. Oh, Sony. Sometimes it might be better to own an Xbox. You got more accessibility to games that way. Anyway, I genuinely think that Final Fantasy 13 will get a remaster. Probably not a remake, but it will get a remaster within the next couple of years. Square just needs to focus a little bit more on what they've got going on, get the third Final Fantasy VII remake underway, halfway through, and then bam, there's your Final Fantasy IX remake out, and then a year after that, Final Fantasy 13. That's how things are going to go. And if they're not, come back to this video and tell me I'm wrong. Final Fantasy 13, better than expected.